Hi, folks. I'm here with my friend Shane Geraghty. Shane's kind enough to allow us to record a short 10-minute video so I can put on Facebook. And Shane, you're a client of mine. This is our third session.
Right.
And I just asked you if you would mind if I record this, because I think this is something that a lot of people could benefit from, especially due to COVID-19 and how people are feeling some anxieties right now. Because that certainty that we like to feel is not there right now. So that can wreak havoc in our minds if we're not careful. So thank you very much for doing that. Before we start, maybe you could recap what you and I just discussed. You've experienced some pretty dramatic changes in your life already.
Absolutely.
In just a minute, because we've got about 10 minutes to do this video.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is about our third session, and not about, it is our third session. I've noticed huge change in a lot of things in my body and my mind. Now, the family is noticing, friends are noticing, coworkers are noticing. I just can't believe it. I mean, how I feel inside, it's a pretty cool feeling.
Okay, good. So now you're going to get a little bit of the structure behind why this is happening, because a lot of what we've done so far has been experiential, but you don't necessarily understand why you're feeling this way. To a small degree you do. I believe that this is going to go a long way to giving you some more understanding. Okay, Shane?
Sure.
So the first thing that we talk about is the event that occurs. So it's really your response to a stimulus that creates your behavior that leads to results. So this thing that's right here in front of this woman is a filter. When an event occurs, there's something that we do that's called, in NLP, we refer to it as deletions. We delete the vast majority of information that comes to us. And this is what you were doing. This is what we all do. And we delete this information because we can only interpret information in a way that's consistent with what we already believe to be true. In other words, whatever we have in our minds from our history, we interpret information in a way that's in harmony with that. If it's not in harmony with that, we simply delete it. An example of this is when, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Shane, but it's a common one when you buy a vehicle. You buy a vehicle and then you drive off the lot with it, and then all of a sudden you see that same vehicle all over the roads. There were just as many vehicles like that the day before you bought yours, but somehow you didn't see them. It's because you deleted them.
It just happened a couple of years to me, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay, that's a
Yeah,
common one. That's why I used that one.
Yeah, never saw a Dodge Journey, and then I bought a Dodge Journey, and everyone has a Dodge Journey.
There you go.
Yes,
another
indeed.
example that's common today is when people are convinced that their phone's listening to them, because they're seeing ads on Facebook, and well, my phone must be listening to my conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those ads were there. They weren't pertinent to you until the conversation came up. Okay. So generalization. Generalization means we have to generalize information, because otherwise it would take way too much effort in order to interpret any stimulus. An example of this is an experiment I read about, a study a little while ago, and it was in an airport. They took a bathroom door in a men's room and they moved the doorknob from the left side to the right side, on the side where the hinges were, or maybe it was vice versa. And they painted the door so nobody could tell it had been tampered with. And when men went to that door, they would grab the doorknob and they would try to open it. And because the doorknob was locked, they were convinced they couldn't get in and they'd leave. And when children would go to it, children under the age of 10, they had a lot of success getting in, because children haven't generalized how a doorknob works by that age, right? Some of them have, but usually that's when they get a little bit older. The younger ones, they might know how a doorknob works, but they haven't experienced it enough times to be convinced that that's how it works. So they might grab the doorknob, or they might just grab it and get frustrated and shove the door, and then they recognize that, hey, it swings on the other side. Little boys get in, men can't, okay?
Yeah.
If you think of it like a filing cabinet in your brain that's got a whole bunch of drawers, and in those drawers you have files with labels on them, and we label all of our information that comes to us through the use of language. That's a linguistic part of neurolinguistic programming. And we have to figure out how to take a new stimulus and generalize it in such a way that it's consistent with something we've already experienced. So if you imagine that you're opening up these drawers looking for a way to make a new bit of information that's come to you fit with something in your past, you have no choice but to put it in where it fits with something that you already know. That's why you're going to interpret this information that I'm giving you right now differently than well, than anybody else that's watching this video. Everybody is going to come away from this with a different meaning, because the meaning is not coming from anything that I'm saying. They're assigning the meaning to this stimulus based on their own personal histories. Make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Yes.
The next thing is we distort it. I mean, there's lots of filters, by the way. There's many more that we could discuss, but I've created a simplified version of the NLP communication model, just so I can explain it during these sessions with people.
Yeah.
I do go into more detail with you in a future session, in the next session, then again in the final session, but this is going to give you a good snapshot. Distortions means that we distort information. If we can't generalize it in a way that it fits perfectly with something we've experienced before, it's okay, because we'll just distort it and we'll make it fit, right? And then we'll go home and we'll say, you go home and say to your wife, let me tell you what happened today.
No.
Well, is that really what happened?
No, it's
because somebody else was with you and they saw the exact same thing and they're at home telling their wife or husband something different, right?
Yeah.
So the meaning is not the event, the meaning is assigned by you. That's really the point that I want to make with you. So after you go through all this filtering process, you create an IR, or an internal representation. This is part of the reason why you've seen such massive change, by the way, because some of the exercises that we've done and that you're doing every day, you're planting internal representations in your mind so that you'll move towards a different way of being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So that blended with your state, and your state you're controlling by using your anchoring, and you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, which is why you're getting great results. When you blend those two things together, you get a meaning. And we've already talked about how you're the one assigning the meaning. The meaning is not coming from the event. You're assigning it. Now what you're doing, Shane, is you're assigning different meanings. Why is that important? Because that's where your behavior comes from, and naturally your results flow from your behavior. Now, if we were to focus on behavior and say, well, if you just modify your behavior, Shane, then these things will change in your life. Well, that's great as long as you have lots of willpower. Willpower is fleeting. You can get results, there's no question, but are they going to be long-lasting results? And are they going to come easily? Chances are no. So what we do is we peel back those layers of the onion and we go to where the behavior comes from in the first place.
Thankfully, because willpower is not one of my biggest strengths, so that's good.
No, it's not a great way to make real lasting change. We want to make change, but we want to make it easy, right? We want to make it as easy as possible. So if you can figure out where the behavior comes from, and you can start putting a little bit of pressure on your internal representations and managing your state, well, then you're going to assign a different meaning. It really comes down to the meaning that you're assigning. How many people are allowing the meanings that they're assigning to this COVID-19 event? That's what really concerns me right now, because I think what people are doing is not only are they deleting a lot of the information that would be helpful to them, I think Facebook's doing it to them as well, because the algorithms in social media right now, well, and not just right now, but for some time, what they're doing is they're just identifying information that the algorithm feels is pertinent to you, and it's giving you more of that information. And so the more of that information you're putting into your mind, you're doing it at the exclusion of other information that might have given you a meaning that would make you feel better. And if you continue to do this, and you do it consistently day after day after day, you can get caught in that fight or flight mode where your rational part of your brain is really offline, and all of a sudden you just get stuck. And when you get stuck, you just get full of anxiety, and the fear that you're creating just leads to more and more fear. This is important for you as well, because you're working out in the community every day. You've got a wife and children, and you're coming home, and you're doing all the right things as far as from what you've told me about how you're decontaminating, and you're very, very careful.
Not allowed in the front door until I take off the shoes and race upstairs and take a shower and do all that stuff.
Yeah, and I do the same stuff. And it's great that you're doing that, and you're serving the community. You're in the front line. I commend you for that, by the way. There's lots of real heroes out there that in the past, we didn't necessarily look at them as heroes, but I certainly do now. So thank you for what you do, by the way, Shane.
Thank you.
And that's basically it. Do you have any questions on this? And is this helpful to you to kind of understand why it is that you're feeling as good as you're feeling right now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't have any questions, because most questions you've answered them and everything else, but it's definitely given me a better outlook on life, and realizing how to kind of filter exactly the not necessarily the negative thinking, but just the thinking that is distorting my balance, right? So it's pretty neat so far what has happened and what you and I have in third session, and I already feel pretty amazing. So
Yeah, no, and it gets better. It gets better. And
yeah,
yeah,
for
you said you
sure.
had to leave by 11. It's 11 on the nose.
Yes.
Thanks very
Right
much
on.
Shane, for doing this, and
Thank you,
we'll talk.
Surrender, for everything.
All
And if you looking for anything, go to Surrender.
right. Thanks very much, Shane.
Thank you, Surrender.
Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you've got any questions or you'd like to contact me, you can do so by visiting my website or my Facebook page. All the information you need is available in the description box below. I look forward to hearing from you.